Hello. How are you guys? Good evening. Good evening. How's it going? How's it going? Hi, Eli. How's New York? Have you guys cooled off over there yet? Hey, Nate. Just gonna hang out for just a few seconds. Hey, Shane. Every week, Shane's here like clockwork. Love it. Okay. Awesome. Let's get started. For those of you watching and you are just joining, you may have heard about this little book, Farming Without the Bank. So feel free to go to farmingwithoutthebank.com at any point and grab that. That's what we are talking about every week. And so it is our weekly catch up. What were the meetings like this week? What did I talk about this week with people? And so, you guys, first of all, it's snowing. I'm not so happy about the snow. It's not even Halloween. It's ridiculous. Anyway, okay. So let's get started because I know that these get long. Hey, Samantha. Oh, look at there. I got all kinds of people I didn't see. Sorry. Hey, Mark. Hey, Danny. But Mary Jo, the debate. Yeah, I know. The debate. My husband is upstairs watching the debate. It's been in the 70s. Oh, well, Eli, if it's moving that way, you're gonna get some snow. Oh, Danny, that's funny. The debate. I'm gonna be better than the debate. 80. Oh, Nate, that would be awesome. I'm tired of it. It's been 2 days, and we haven't hardly gotten anything. The eastern side of the state actually has more. Hey, Carly. Hey, Janine. Oh, yay. I'm looking forward to our meeting too. I don't know when it is, but that's exciting. Okay. All right. So let's get started so that Danny can get back to the debate. I don't know how long the debate lasts, but you know. All right. So the first meeting I want to talk about is a dad and a son. And this was a super awesome meeting. I learned something about sugarcane that I did not know before. So that was fun because I always like to learn about farming industries that I don't usually get to talk to people about. So that was fun. But in this particular operation, the dad is in partnership with the brother, and he owns the majority of it. And the son is just kind of starting to get in, not just starting. I mean, he's, almost 30, but still at that point, just kind of starting to get in. And dad has a whole transition. He's got it. He doesn't have a plan, but he wants a plan. And so he's looking at things, and that is very exciting to be able to talk to a family where one is ready to transition and hand it over, and everything is an open book. Everybody knew everything that was going on, so it was very, very cool and a fun conversation. But some of the things that we talked about there. Well, one, we were looking for money, right? Where are we going to find the money to start this policy? And they had already been, Dad had read read Nelson's book before he even read my book. And so they were already kind of in that mindset. But it was interesting because dad has equipment loans, and he's got other money aside, so he can start a policy, not a big deal. And no biggie, it's just typical, hey, we've got some money here, or we make a little extra over here on rental properties, or we've got, a couple other things, some inheritance, and so we've got some money to be able to start. But then I challenged him a little bit and said, okay, we've got this equipment. And in our meeting, I said, or when I was asking him questions about his operation, I said, so are you going to be replacing that equipment? Maybe I didn't even ask it. I think he volunteered it and said, yeah, but we're going to be replacing that soon. So that payment will go up. He volunteered that. And I just kind of put that in the back of my brain, and we just kept going. And when we kind of came to the end of the meeting, I said, Dad, I just want to challenge you a little bit. Do you need new equipment when this is paid for? Do we need to roll that into more equipment? Or can we take that equipment payment, redirect it to a policy, and capitalize? And the reason that I brought it up, because typically I don't dive in, like, we're talking strategy in meetings. There is no question we're talking strategy. But I just can't open up the fire hose all the way, because I will blast you guys with so much stuff that you already leave the meeting forgetting half of what we talked about, right? But Dad said, in Nelson's book, he put premium in for 4 years. And I said, you can do that. You can capitalize the policy. And a good way to do that would be not to buy new equipment. Can we hold that equipment for another 3 to 5 years, use that money, capitalize the policy, put it all in, and then we back the policy down? So we're just filling it full. And he goes, oh, we can do that? Like, we can. Policy premium going forward is going to be high in this situation. Doesn't have to be, depends on the number. I said, but yeah, absolutely we can. And so it really got him thinking, which then led to who's going to own the policies? Is the LLC going to own the policy? Is the son going to own the policy? Who is he going to own policies on? And I said, well, we have to also be concerned about long-term care. And this is something I don't talk about often, but it comes up when we're talking about transitioning in a plan. And I said, do you have long-term care? Nope, no long-term care. For those of you that don't know what long-term care is, it is nursing home insurance. And so I said, he's like, no long-term care. Okay, so we don't have any long-term care. I said, that life insurance policy that you have, that whole life policy now becomes an asset to you. And if you go to the nursing home and you're not going to qualify for Medicaid unless you drain your assets. That is an asset that needs to be drained. Now, I cannot speak for every state. I do know in the state of North Dakota that is the case. I would assume that would be the case in most states, if not all states. It has happened to my clients here. And so something to be concerned about. If you do not have long-term care and that policy is owned by you, then guess what? It's an asset. You might want to put that in a spousal trust, which is what my attorney recommends, so that we can still access the cash value. And then we were talking about generational wealth and the power of handing that death benefit off to the next generation. In this particular case, we were paying about 42 cents or something like that for every dollar of death benefit. So 42 cents, and we're going to hand it off to the next generation, income tax free. but not estate tax-free. Okay? Very different things. And Dad said, well, estate taxes are like 11, I think that right now they're like 11.5 million or something. And I said, yep, they are. But guess what? It doesn't matter what they are today unless you die today. Every time we have a change in administration, that goes up and down. Before we had the Trump administration, it was, I think we came in at 3.5. Trump increased that to 11.5 or whatever it is. And so it can go back down. And I think we've even seen it lower than 3.5. And so the death benefit can be passed on income tax free, but not estate tax free. So we really have to make sure that we're paying attention to the death benefit, how that affects our estate, especially when we are buying big policies. High premium buys lots of death benefit. And so we have to make sure we can do that. Do we change ownership over to the kids? Is that a 7-year look back? The kids cannot have ownership and dad pay the premium. Nope. Medicaid's going to come in and find that. And so there's some loopholes around, not necessarily loopholes, but there's some ways around that. But how do we get around it? Do we do a trust? Do we do an ownership change? Is it owned by the LLC? What does that look like for Medicaid? That I do not know. I've never had an experience with that. But these are all attorney questions, right? So make sure that you are consulting your attorney. I am not an attorney. Do not take my advice as gospel. These things change all the time. Make sure that you have an attorney if you're looking at the estate plan and how is that death benefit going to be affected? Could cash value be taken? Do we need some long-term care? Do we want to sell it beforehand? If we do, what does that look like to the nursing home? So when we're doing estate plan stuff, lots of questions, and you should have your group of professionals. You should have your insurance agent, your accountant, your banker, and your attorney all present. They all need to be there working together. This is not only I can, Mary Jo will answer all those questions. No, because I'm not a know-it-all. You need to have all of those people talking and working together. The other thing he said then was, well, we're gonna buy a summer home, and he had some inheritance, and so we're going to use that for a summer home. Oh, okay, well, fantastic. He said, should I put that in the policy first or buy the summer home? Well, how much do you need? Do you need every red cent to buy the summer home? Yep. Okay, then if we put it in the policy first, we're not going to have access to all that money right away. So let's put it in the policy. Let's buy the summer home, and then you pay yourself back, and what? That becomes our premium payment. And so this is a strategy we talk about every single week. And this is something that, what do we do? When do we pay cash? When do we put it in the policy? In this situation, let's pay it back and let's get the summer home purchased. The son said, well, Mary Jo, I would like to start a policy for $1,000 a month because I just paid cash for a vehicle and I'm paying myself back at 8%. Good job. Good job, son. And he read this little book and he got this out of the book, right? So he is already being an honest banker. If you don't even do anything with life insurance, it's totally okay. Just be an honest banker. That's it. That's all you gotta do. And you're still gonna win, right? You're gonna win amongst your peers because that's one thing they're not doing, okay? So there we have some money, and then he had a bunch of money in savings. And Dad said, the kids have a bunch of money because I paid for their college. And I said, oh, okay. So then we went on to talking about the grandkids policies. What's that going to look like? How much money are they going to have? Can they pay for college? And we ran a quick illustration. And I said, so I said to the son, now you could borrow from your policies to pay for your kids' college if you would like to do that. And then they could pay you back. And he's like, yep. And I said, unless you don't want them to. And I told Dad, I said, the kids should be paying you back for their college. Do you truly know the amount of lost income you had on paying cash for their college? It's huge, significant, right? 5 kids. I don't know how many of them went to school. I'm assuming all 5 because he said kids. He didn't say there was a number that didn't go. And so if we put 5 kids through college, how much money did we lose over our lifetime because we paid cash for that? And I said, the kids should pay you back for that. And that premium, that money should go into a policy. And he's like, yeah, right. They're not going to think that's a good idea. I said, they should not care. Because when you pass away, they're going to get the death benefit and they're going to get their money back anyway. But in the meantime, you had the money to use, right? And Dad's response is, you're a good salesman. People, yes, I sell the life insurance policy. I am not going to deny that. I sell the life insurance policy, but I am teaching a thought process. That thought process was not there before. The pay myself back at 8% was not there before. The capitalize the policy with not buying new equipment was not there before. That is the infinite banking concept. That is why you want an infinite banking practitioner. The thought process of what to do is huge. Okay? Huge, huge, huge. The other thing on the grandkids is they're on grandkid number 1, right? And I've had this before with clients. Grandkid number 1 comes along and everybody wants to buy a policy on this grandchild. Good, awesome, fantastic. What happens when grandkid number 2 comes along? Oh, we're still excited. We're going to buy a policy. 3, 4, 5. Can we afford all those policies? So when we start a policy on grandkid number 1, we have to think if there's going to be more grandkids and if you want it to be fair, okay? I have clients right now, grandkid number 1 has a policy, number 2 and number 3 don't have anything because we're putting a bunch of money into number 1, right? And so we have to kind of think long-term on those grandkids. Do we want to start a policy, let mom and dad own it and just pay part of it every year? And mom and dad pay a portion of it every year. And share in that premium. But then we're not on the hook for all of it, okay? Because those premiums aren't super expensive. I mean, we could go as low as $600 a year. But if you want any kind of decent money in a policy for college or a used car, you're looking at more like $1,000 a year. And so 600 isn't horrible, but with what these guys wanted to do, they were at an easy grand a year. That gets to be a lot for parents. Not every parent can afford that. Not every grandparent can afford that. Okay, that was a big one. That was an extra long meeting today. Hey, Dave. Hey, Bruce. Oh my gosh, Oregon is still burning. You're still there. Every week. You've been there for weeks on end, Bruce. Glad you're safe. Okay. The next client, he wasn't even calling for insurance. He was just calling for estate buyout strategies, whatever, which is totally fine. A super nice guy. No kids, no wife, nobody to leave anything to. Has a young guy that has been renting for him for 10 years who cannot get money to buy the farm. And so he was just wondering what to do. And he said, he can't even afford a payment to me. You know, the guy's 75 years old. He's like, he can't even afford a payment to me. I mean, even if it wasn't, I didn't have a down payment, he still could not afford the payment. I'm renting it to him. I'm giving him a deal on it. And so he can afford it and he can run it, but he's not going to be able to buy it and give the bank that money. And the bank won't lend him the money. They wouldn't even lend him money for the cows. And so, you know, we talked about, well, what if he pays X amount and then just continues to pay your estate after you pass away? We had all these strategies. And I think the one and they were normal strategies. The one that we kind of came up with was, how about you keep the rent the same? And when you pass, that comes off the purchase price. So he has first right of refusal. You guys can or cannot determine what you want to buy it for today. Totally up to you what you want to do. If you want to charge him and give him a deal and say, okay, any improvements are on your dime, not on mine, because I'm already giving you a deal. If you're going to buy the place, they're all going to be yours anyway. Or you continue to do the improvements and then he buys it at an appraised value. If he does the improvements, can you agree on a value today for the farmstead, and then maybe the land would appreciate? And because he doesn't have anybody but nephews and like extended family, he maybe doesn't care so much about selling it for more. And he was very sentimental to the fact of giving the kid a discount and doing it for sale by owner, because that's how he bought it 30 some years ago, was for sale by owner. And the guy he bought it from did not charge him what he could have because he wanted to see a young guy get started. So lesson number one, it was not that easy 30 years ago. It's not that easy today because it's never been easy. But it was so refreshing to see both of these clients that really wanted to make sure the next generation had a shot and that we can pass it off and all this good stuff. And so that was a fun call, but keep in mind, there is more than one way to skin that cat. If you want to owner finance somebody, or you don't want to owner finance somebody, but they are paying rent, kid or not, can that rental income go towards the purchase price? So when you pass away, they are not buying it again. Okay? The first client that I talked about, we also talked about generational wealth and using that death benefit to roll to the next generation. I am not going to go over that tonight, but if you go to my website, farmingwithoutthebank.com, there is a blog post called Generational Wealth, and there's a video to show you what that looks like. And when the dad heard that, he was like, wow, that is true legacy. I'm like, it is a true legacy, and it's what we need to save a family farm. We aren't saving family farms because we're not passing on with discounted dollars. Everybody's having to rebuy. And so we can give it at a discount like client number 2, or we can pass it on and you know, client number 2 has no kids. That's easy. That's easy to give a discount. But if we want to make sure that we're fair to everybody, not so easy. All right. Woohoo, get to go home next week. Glad that they're under control. Okay, the next, I had another husband and wife, young couple, both off the farm income. They are doing a little bit of farming, dabbling, using cash, using their off the farm income to farm, making a lot of money as a young couple. No idea. There's money there to start. but they don't know where it's going. They had some loans, nothing excessive, but we see this a lot. This happens in my life, right? We go out to eat, or we go do this, or we go do that, and we don't really pay attention to where that money is going. And that happens when we have enough that we can do those things and don't have to watch every red cent. And so regardless where you're at financially, pay attention to where that money is going. If you want to start a policy, you want to get away from the banking system, you want to create this retirement, we need to fund it. We need to beat Parkinson's law. And again, if you don't know what Parkinson's law is, then you are going to want to read Becoming Your Own Banker, or just go to my podcast. One of those podcasts are the laws, Willie Sutton Law and Parkinson's Law. Listen to that, you'll get an idea. But if we can look at where that's going, and especially for a young couple who have two really good jobs and they're doing great, and all of a sudden we're going out to eat, or we're buying groceries, or we're online shopping, or whatever it is we're doing, let's really look at that. I had another meeting where we had a dairy farmer just breaking even, going a little bit backwards the last 3 years just because of milk prices. And we're not in a horrible situation by any stretch of the imagination. Not in a horrible situation. Just they're keeping their head above water, but we don't have really any extra in order to put it into a policy. And so what we did there was say, okay, we've got a little bit of extra that's going into a 401k. And this was actually a pretty funny situation because they didn't have a lot in these IRAs, but they had the IRAs, and they're putting $400 a month in the IRA for retirement, but then they're constantly going to the IRA, paying the 10% penalty, taking it out to pay for farm expenses. Okay, so why do we keep doing that? If we've done that 2 or 3 times, let's just stop putting it in an IRA. Just put it in a savings account you can't touch. At least you won't have the 10% penalty. And so we did a little bit of a debt snowball. If those of you listening don't know what a debt snowball is, just Google debt snowball. And it'll show you how to take one debt, pay it off, use that money, pay another debt, use that money, pay another debt, and get it off. And so in 18 months, we got enough money that we can start a policy. We'll just talk again then. Okay, let's see. You guys, Danny, I think that you're right. If you're still listening, you're probably not listening. There's only 13 of you on tonight. That means that y'all are watching that stupid presidential debate. Ugh, you already know how it's going to go. Drama. It's just drama. Okay. Let's see. Oh, this next couple is awesome. So they don't farm. Well, kind of a little bit, but they don't really farm. They have a wedding venue, and they're buying this little, they're buying some ground maybe to start an RV park so that the people that come to the wedding venue have a place to stay with their campers, which is very cool. And they both have really good off-the-farm jobs. In fact, he has an off-the-farm job that he works with farmers and teaches them regenerative ag stuff, and it's very, very cool. But it was funny because they need to buy this land for this RV park. And they have quite a bit of money in their 401ks because they've had off the farm jobs and they've done a great job of saving. And they have a lot of money in savings. And after he read the book, he looked at his whole life policies because he's got whole life policies. And he's got $88,000 of cash value. But guess what? He had no idea. I said, well, that's a nice surprise. He said, well, frankly, I'm a little bit irritated. Because nobody had told him. Nobody told him that cash was there. And so he said, well, do I borrow the 88,000 to buy that land for the RV park? Do I get a commercial loan? Like, what do I do? Well, the commercial loan, they looked at all their finances and said, oh yeah, we're happy to give you a loan because you have a lot of money. But we need an engineered plan, and we need it appraised, and we need closing costs, right? We have all these expenses. And it's just not going to be that easy as signing on the line, getting the check, and away they go. And I said, well, okay, you have the money in cash value. You've got money in savings. You've got money in 401ks. You've got equity in your house. Why not just refinance your house? Your payment will basically stay the same, stretch it out 30 years. Your payment stays the same. Cash flow does not change. You got the property, nothing at risk. If COVID continues and they live in a crazy state where there's like ridiculous government overreach, and so if COVID never ends, then you don't really have any risk. You got some land. But cash flow purposes, everything stayed the same. And they were like, oh, we had not thought of that. I said, and even if you use the money from cash value, then you've still got control. You still get to borrow that money. And they needed a little bit extra, obviously, to get it all done, because it's going to be not a small task by any stretch of the imagination. And so it was just, I gave them just a lot of strategies. We talked about a lot of different things. And he's like, I cannot believe that we don't think this way. I can't believe that nobody gave us those options, right? The banker just came in and said, yep, we can do that, no problem. Okay, we can do that. But now we have the appraisal. We don't need an appraisal if we pay cash. What if we take it out of a retirement account that was doing nothing? And because obviously, what's the rate of return going on in there? Can you pay yourself back at that same rate of return and still make that money? Or more to make up for what you maybe lost during that time. And so lots and lots of ideas for them. But that was awesome. And such a nice couple. So nice. I meet so many nice people. I tell you, like, it's rare. It's rare to have a meeting with somebody that it doesn't go well. Very rare. It's so exciting. Okay, then we had another couple that they transitioned. They sold a custom farming business. They got out of this custom farming business and they are going to farming, and they still have some money coming in from that. And we were in a bit of a transition period. And so we can definitely start something very small because we've got some of that other money coming in, but now we're starting another business. We're farming full time. It's hard a lot of times to know where we're at in a transition like that, because we don't even have a full year under our belt. Where do we get started to make it comfortable so that we can always pay that premium and we never get in a situation where we can't pay the premium? So something to think about on that front, but it was kind of nice that they still had some of these accounts receivable coming in. All right. Then I have another one where the son came home. Dad said, okay, I'm going to make you 25% owner, which is absolutely fantastic. And you get to do the books and you get to make all the decisions. And he handed everything over, which was great. And Dad is ready to move on, but he's not ready to sell anything. And so they have a lot of old equipment lying around that is just depreciating and pretty much going to be worth nothing, because we can't sell that just in case we might need it. Do any of you know people out there like that? That's a hard situation to be in. And so, he said that it's interesting that there is usually the adults have problems with the kids when they come back to the farm and they don't want to work so hard, right? But in this situation, what do we do when the kid is ready to go full force and dad's like, oh boy, I don't know, that doesn't sound so good, I don't know, and he's holding that back, right? And what do we do in those situations? And so it was, that's a hard one, because usually dad wants control. In this situation, dad's like, I'm good. You take control, you make all the decisions on what we're planting, when we're planting, where we're spending the money. I'm good, but don't sell my equipment. And they could pay off a lot of debt if they sold equipment. Now, this is the second time in 2 weeks that I've had that situation. And I have not been on a farm that doesn't sell their equipment. My parents don't hold on to things. I mean, they hold on to things, don't get me wrong. But like when I just talked to them a few weeks ago, and they got rid of some old truck that they didn't need anymore. And so they just don't typically hold on to stuff. Like there's not stuff all over the yard with weeds growing around it. We don't need to build more barns and more shops and sheds and buildings to house stuff, the new stuff in, because the old stuff has taken up room. They don't hang on to that much big stuff, right? They have enough little crap, but they don't hold on to the big stuff. Now I want you to think about this. If you don't sell it today, and he was using a drill as an example. So we had a 6-row and they went to a 12-row, or I don't remember what they had for drills, whatever. They had a smaller one, they went to a bigger one. So when we have a smaller drill, we could have traded that in on the bigger one because it was paid for. But we chose not to do that. Instead, what did we do? We kept it because it was paid for. We might need it to get into those tight corners. 5 years later, we've never used it. It has never left the shed. Okay, so if it's never left the shed, why do we still have it? Because now it's even worth less than it was 5 years ago, and it might be so obsolete that we are not collecting it because it's maybe not an antique yet, right? There's this time between I'm going to trade it and it's an antique. In between there, it's not worth anything because nobody wants it. And so you're going to be long dead before it's the antique. If you owe money on other stuff, do you really just want to sell it for iron? Get rid of it. If you need to use one, just go find one to borrow or figure it out. You're a farmer. You'll figure out how to do it. My goodness. You do not need to be sitting on crap you don't need. And then you're paying the bank an interest rate because you don't want to sell it because what if? What if I need it? Well, what if you can go lease what you need for a short period of time? Okay, that was kind of a soapbox. But I am not a hoarder. I do not have sentimental value to anything. So stuff is gone. I get rid of it and I am not one bit sad about any of it, ever. Do I want to buy something again? No, I do not want to get rid of something that I have to buy again because I'm cheap. No. However, what is the likelihood that I'm actually going to need it? Not very likely. Get rid of it. Okay, and then we had another young couple that they had no debt, no student loans, tons of money in savings, work their butt off and save like absolutely everything. Both of them are frugal. And they're early 20s. And so that was that was awesome because they knew, they had a plan. We want to buy some land and we're going to need X amount of dollars down when that comes for sale. So we want to buy some land. We're going to have to buy some cows for that land. And they're looking at retirement. So he wasn't just looking to say, hey, what's going to happen in the next 5 years, which is a lot of the cases that I have. What's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years, Mary Jo? No, he wanted to know in his early 20s, he wanted to know what was going to be happening at 65. What did those numbers look like? How much did we put in? Well, we basically doubled. From what we put in for premium, we basically doubled his cash value at 65. And so those were things that he was looking at, both of them, very long-term thinkers. It was awesome, which is usually how my millennials go. I sure do love those guys. In case you've never heard me say that. I'm sure you have, because I talk about it all the time. Okay, let me see. That's what I had for new meetings this week. I'm trying to think of what I had for clients that called in. If I had anything good there. Hey, Holly. Me either, Bruce. Hey, Dan. Dan Allen. If anybody is watching from Canada, you just click on message Dan, and Dan can help you in Canada. He is an infinite banking practitioner up there. Thanks, Dan. You're so sweet. Okay. The only other thing that I have for reminders is I did have 2 no-shows this week. And so you scheduled your appointment and then you forgot about me. One guy forgot, so he got rescheduled in 4 weeks. And then another guy we haven't heard back from yet. And so I get things happen. I totally understand that. But if you guys buy the book from me and you do not get emails, you're going to be getting emails. If you schedule an appointment and you aren't getting email reminders, it's because it's going to spam. And I don't know how to stop that. We send emails to each other in the office and they go to spam. It's ridiculous. So always check your spam. Please, please, please. And please remember or cancel your appointment. We text you, we call you, we email you. Like, please. People are waiting 4 weeks to get in. I really hate it when somebody doesn't show up. And because we've got reminders for you. It is really, it drives me crazy because there are people waiting and I can't call them. It's last minute. I can't move somebody up. But people are so excited to get in and then they have to wait and then somebody doesn't show up. And I get it. You made the appointment 6 weeks ago. I 100% understand. Put a reminder on your phone. You have a calendar in there. Put a reminder, please. Please, for everybody else. It's kind of like the masks. Wear them for everybody else. Okay, we're not getting on that topic. All right. That is all I have. If you guys, I'm only booking out 4 weeks only because I was 6. So we're down to 4, which is good. And I do have some people in December and January booking. So if you are listening to this live, if it's not live and it's in 6 months from now, disregard it. But if you are listening to this live or tomorrow or the next day, please book now and then you will be on the calendar so that you're not out. Once harvesting is done, I'm going to probably be out 6 weeks again, just because everybody's going to try to get on the calendar. So get on the calendar. We will call you, check your voicemails. You'll get text messages. You'll get emails, all that good stuff. Okay. If you have not bought any of the books, please do. Christmas is coming. And if you don't get your book, here's another thing. This week we got an email that said, hey, Mary Jo, I bought my dad a book for Father's Day and he didn't get it. And it's October. So if you don't get your book in a week, you guys, we send them all priority mail. They're supposed to be there in 2 to 3 days. If you do not get your book in a week, we need to know about it. This particular book never left the post office. Don't even get me started on that, the post office. Unbelievable how many issues we have with the post office. And so if you don't get it, let us know. If you don't get the emails, check the spam. If you booked an appointment, you get reminders, okay? So please go ahead, get those books, read them, make your appointment, and I seriously look forward to helping you. I did have another client this week as well that talked to a different agent, and it was not the correct type of policy. Obviously, this whole thought process, we talked about a lot of things, a lot of strategies. None of that was addressed in the meeting with the other agent as well. So again, I'm going to toot my own horn a little bit. You want to work with somebody that understands farming. You want to work with somebody that understands the infinite banking concept. Okay. Eli, I use Zoom for all of my meetings. And that's another thing. I just assume people know that we're meeting over the internet. You don't have to come to North Dakota when it's snowing, right? We do everything via Zoom. There's no charge for any of that. All I ask is that you read the book first. And the reason why is because I had a client this week who the wife did not read the book. And there were a lot of questions that would have been answered in the book. And it was really hard to just get her head around it because she really had no basis of what we were talking about. And so please read the book first. Okay, you guys, you're welcome, Eli. Okay, guys, that's all I have for tonight. I'm going to let you go enjoy the debate if it is still on. Oh, hey, Carly, I just saw this. How quickly do you try to respond to emails? I have tons of thoughts on deals with buying a property cash in November. Typically, like, that day, unless you email me, like, late Friday or something. But during the week, I respond to emails all day long. I try to not leave my office unless all my emails are answered. So, yeah, absolutely. If I can answer an email, I sure will, my dear. Okay, I will see you guys next week. Same time, same place. If you have questions or you want certain things answered, let me know. All right, you guys have a good week. Hopefully you're not getting snow. Talk to you later.